Welcome, December 10th, Warren Select Board meeting. Any public comment?
There are a couple of binders.
Agenda changes. We need to talk about, there's a Warren Arts Committee funding again. And also Rachel Gregorian has an email about that I think we need to take a look at to see if we have to do anything tonight, or at least respond. We should.
Did you see it, Andy?
I didn't read it. I saw who it was from and I didn't know what it's about.
Okay.
I did not read
You
it.
do? Okay.
So we'll talk about that. Hey Perry.
I was late.
And the Mervis, I'm assuming we'll have someone from Mervis here, but they're not on until 6:40, so maybe they're waiting for us. Do we have, how long do you think, Andy, you know about the grants for playground email?
The what?
The one from Rachel? You said you knew about this one?
I didn't read it yet. I saw that it had come in and I figured it's about, actually I don't know exactly
Yeah.
what it's about.
I
Let's
didn't
do this one
understand
quickly
it,
if
so-
it'll only take a few minutes. I'm just reading it now too. So this is for the playground.
That is the name of the grant, was Land and Water Conservation Fund?
I don't know. I have as much information as,
Wish she was here to speak.
Are we
with us.
thinking that the grant money, the match comes from the funds already awarded?
Absolutely.
Yep.
yeah,
Alright,
that's
and
what,
But those are already spent.
So not budgeted for it then?
Right, so this is.
This is in addition?
This is a new ask.
No.
Well, I'm saying that's what it is.
Okay. My question is, she said, we're thinking a grant writer project manager would be in the position to navigate this prior to the deadline on the 13th. Who's the grant writer project manager? I
they don't
thought-
have
We
one
don't
yet.
have one.
So we haven't hired that position yet. And
Yeah.
What
We have-
Rebecca told us last week
2 days.
was that
Yeah.
there's only one applicant.
Right, that's why I was
Got it.
asking that question.
So as far as I'm thinking is that the town has given the seed money, and more seed money is probably not gonna be forthcoming in our budgeting, is my guess.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Not this year.
I mean, I thought we were very clear that we want those funds to be used to leverage other funds. And so if they want to put that $180,000 toward the grant match,
Well, some of it's
Like-
already spent.
I think
but
they've
if
already
that's,
spent it.
but if that's an eligible project as part of what they're seeking,
Right.
then the fact
Yeah.
that it's spent doesn't necessarily matter,
Right,
right?
agreed.
I still am confused about what the Land and Water Conservation Fund is.
We don't know.
Nobody knows the
We
answers
no,
to
we have no
those
idea what that
questions.
is. It's a source they're looking to and has potentially a lot of money to give them, but they want a 50-50 match, obviously, and it just sounds like that is,
And that could be $500,000?
It says up to $1 million, so they can take their 180 and
So-
double it.
Double down?
roll
the dice?
Am I correct that today's the 10th and the 13th
Yeah.
is 3
Yeah,
days
so we're-
away? So no.
I just,
So the-
everything about this. just-
For one, yeah, we're not in a position to do that. And then two, I think on that position, we haven't done that.
We need
Obviously, so-
to act on that position, and we need to decide, we have one applicant, do we interview that applicant?
Yes.
And make the call, if we think it's a good connection? Or do we put it back out for a new round? Or do we decide that after we interview?
And who interviews?
ARPA fund, so
ARPA
Devin
committee.
and myself.
Yep.
And Shannon and
Right, that's what I thought.
Dan.
Okay.
I would assume, I'm all in favor of setting that interview up. What do you guys think?
Let's do that. Let's,
Yeah.
you and I talk about this afterwards.
Okay.
So then if you're gonna set up that, I think just reaching out to Rachel directly, to cover this.
I was just gonna reply quickly that if they're able to use the money that's already given to the PTO as the grant match, great. If not, we aren't
If
in a
not,
position
we're not in a
to
position to,
Allocate more
allocate
funding.
more
Yep,
funds
exactly.
in 2 days.
yep.
That sounds good. Anything else on that? Otherwise, we can move to the Mervis MOU. No?
Yep.
Okay. We have Daisy and Hillary. Are you guys here to talk about the Mervis MOU?
Hillary, no?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
Okay, we'll move on.
Yep. They still have a minute, maybe someone will show up. Everyone's familiar with it though?
We discussed it at planning district last week, 2 weeks ago.
Okay. Any concerns, any?
Yeah.
I didn't at that time, and I don't think any of the other towns did. But it wasn't a deep dive, we didn't pick it apart or anything, it seemed like it was pretty straightforward.
Yeah. Seems that way to me.
Is it different in any, do we have a previous MOU, I imagine?
We don't.
We don't.
No.
So,
Never have.
so the history is that Mervis has been a standalone volunteer squad, and, you know, I think it was formed around 1970-ish. And back then, that was the model, every local area had a volunteer squad, or a fast squad at least. And now we're one of 2 left in the state that are volunteer generally. I don't know where the other one
Really?
is, but that's it. Everything else has gone either professional or disbanded, and they just don't got. So, you know, and we have basically a state-of-the-art company here. These guys are well-trained. It's not just, so a fast squad is when you have mostly just first responders. And this is like a whole different ballpark.
Yeah.
With EMTs and a lot of ability. And a good management,
I was gonna say,
Yeah,
and well
that's-
managed.
Yeah.
which is
Hard to
probably the
find.
only thing that has kept them alive in this atmosphere that we're in.
Yeah.
So, good on them, but they obviously need help, and I think that it makes sense, you know, since we're already losing our health center.
Right.
It'd be nice to keep our ambulance service, because what's going to happen, or perceived to be happening, is because of the lack of the health center, they're gonna expect to see a lot more calls. Because people are not gonna be able to just get themselves down to the health center, now they've gotta get to Waterbury or whatever, and so they're gonna have more transports and, you know, just more volunteer hours, more everything. So that's why they're looking for an MOU.
The only thing in it, and it makes sense to me, but, that I wanted to note was that the apportionment will be, based on population, with Moretown counted at 50%.
So based on population of the
Each town.
town residents?
Yep. Based on population, yeah, most recent census, so, yep.
So
Residents.
full-time residents or?
Yeah,
Well, census.
so-
Census,
counts
yep.
full-time, yeah.
So I would you could easily make the argument that we're getting off easy,
Yeah, 'cause with all
because
of our guests and
we
mountains
swell up
and-
in certain times of year to have a lot more residents. So I think, I'm assuming they're also getting some support from Sugar
Sugar
Bush
Bush.
and Mad River. I would hope if they don't, they're foolish.
It's a good question.
It's not on here as a signer.
Signatory.
It's just,
No, yeah,
maybe they have a separate agreement with.
I would hope they do.
So we have no one on Zoom and no one walking through the door from
Do we-
Mervis.
Do we
Do you
have
have any
questions?
questions? Yeah.
I don't know if someone was scheduled to be here.
Okay.
So we can,
But if we don't have questions, then I think we can just, you know,
we can move to sign it.
Move to sign it. Does anyone have any?
I'm just curious what the financial ask will be.
I believe we already know that. I think it was, they have a,
I know they came and said
They
that they
have-
were going to.
they have a 10-year, $400,000 shortfall that they're trying to make up. And I think that came out to either 10 or 15 a year from each town, something like that, no?
Well, I think.
I don't remember the details.
This is based on population, so
Which
it
is
can't be
new.
straight across the board. I think 2 years ago, they came in and asked for that from each town, correct? But
They
this
did,
seems
that
like
was
something
15.
different.
This is actually, if I recall, it's like 14, 13, and 9, and then a much smaller amount from.
Moretown.
Anyway, I think it adds up to 40, and over 10 years, that's gonna do their 400,000.
It's just spread.
Is how I think
across.
that they did that.
So, I don't think we know how much our share is.
I think it's in the 10 to 15 range, closer to 15.
They've been very upfront with funding and requests, so I wouldn't think it would be a shock for this year.
Well, the reason I ask is we're signing an MOU committing to pay those funds.
Well, I would say we're signing an MOU, and I think what's important is whether we think that that the, whatever the cost is going to be, is fairly derived from this. And, and the services that we're getting for it and everything, because this MOU it's not just a one-year thing. This is gonna happen every year, so we can't know what it's gonna be in the future. I would say,
I agree with you, Devin, but it's
I don't think it negates my ability to agree to the document. I'm just,
Yeah.
I guess
it would
that's what
be
I'm saying.
a helpful piece of information.
Yeah.
We will need it.
Did we just
for
like it
budgeting.
next week? Is there a deadline that they're working under?
I don't know.
I don't think so. We can certainly ask questions.
Wouldn't
We
think
shouldn't
so,
we
since
shouldn't
they're not
sign
here.
something if we have questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll ask them to come.
Moretown is 50% because they only cover half of the area. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, so
I
I'll
don't
reach
know
out
where
to
the Berlin is,
Mervis.
so I guess that's the northern.
And then
Berlin.
2.5 miles up Moretown Mountain Road, so, which is it around South Hill? South?
Why don't they go all the way to the Moretown border?
Don't know.
That's what they're saying, they're not gonna do
Yeah.
all of Moretown,
Maybe
Okay.
Northfield has something that covers it.
So I'll double check on that. We'll plan on. We'll circle back with
Get
a
a
response.
Get a number
Yep.
from them, is that what you're gonna do?
Yep.
Okay.
Any other questions to ask? Or costs are the only one?
I know I had the costs in an email from somewhere.
I probably do too, but. Okay. Let's move on. So next thing on the agenda, the only thing is finishing the STR ordinance editing. Devin, can you pull that up? Or I can.
You can. Do you want to pull it up and share your screen and I'll edit from here so I don't have to join the Zoom? Is that
Sure.
what, there was some reason we didn't do that before.
Don't remember.
Should be the same, right?
Okay,
It should
the
show
microphone.
live.
It'll
as
show
long
me,
as-
like
yeah.
the way we did it with the looters, but for some reason we didn't do that one. No.
Looks like we had gotten to
Number 7?
7C, through 7C, actually, through 7, right? Or were we discussing tents?
We were definitely discussing tents. We didn't talk about tents because we thought it might take a long time.
Do we get 2 tents?
Oh, ouch.
I had a friend who always used to say, dude, this is so intense. Not like camping. And every time someone says intense, I hear,
I hear
him
that.
say.
I know, I hear the dad joke every time I hear it. Same thing. Okay.
I'm constantly trying to remember how to suggest edits in this
Google,
platform.
Yeah.
This seems clear to me, no?
Yeah. It's easy to
I
read
think you
this
had
way.
to change your editing thing at the top.
Sorry, where were we? On 7?
So, yeah, 7.5, 7C5.
Suggesting. Nice job. Thank you.
Okay. So 7 is procedure upon filing application. C is short-term rental permits issued pursuant to this section shall state the following. All right, so these are things that will be included with the application or the permits, all right? So no tents. Do we care?
I don't agree with this.
I don't either. I think
As overnight quarters, so they're not counted as an official room.
do we
That
want
doesn't
to
mean
do we
you
want to check tents at night?
I don't.
So
I don't care.
I wonder how, like, what do we do with this? Because I think it's ridiculous to tell people that they can't have camping on their property
That's
Isn't
not what it
that
says.
as an STR.
That's not what it says. Oh, as
there
an
more
Like,
STR.
so it's a.
Can't rent
so,
out a tent.
For example, like I've done, I've had Airbnbs, and my sister wants to join for a night, and you ask the host, "Hey, is it cool if we put up a tent for a night so my sister can join?" Because there isn't enough space in the house. Like, that feels like a reasonable use to
It-
me.
I agree, and so take one step back to where does this fall into what we're trying to accomplish with this ordinance? Information gathering, safety, and good neighbor.
I interpreted it as you can't advertise, it as a room if it's a tent.
Or that's your total STR is outside your house, you build a little platform
Right.
and put a tent on it and say, I'm renting this out.
That's glamping.
That's exactly. And that's actually something I had told Dan Raddick about. There's a whole piece of STRs that is just tenting.
Yeah.
And
But I think you have to have facilities. I mean, that's
I
the
don't have
key,
any
right?
problem with taking that out.
I would just take it out and we can deal with the,
However, since you raised this question of, sorry, because I didn't
you can
think of
take
it
both
that way.
sides now.
yeah, that's so,
Yes, because we had to talk it through. I didn't think of it as someone was like literally posting on Airbnb, hey, come stay in my tent.
Yeah,
And
that's the
I-
thing.
And I don't know,
I mean, it would have to have all the facilities.
right, it has to meet
that
all
it
the
has
other
to-
requirements. It's kind of,
Wasn't tents, like, wasn't that in looters though, as like not allowable for a long time? Like, is it now still in there?
no, it's not,
No,
it's,
that's camping on your own property. So if you owned a piece in Alpine Village, you can't camp for more than, I think,
Right,
30 consecutive days.
right.
And maybe 60 days in a calendar year type thing. So that you don't just come and basically live in a
your
tent and poop in the woods for 6 months.
you're not allowed
It's-
to be a hermit.
Why?
I don't know. the
It has
answer
to do
that.
with wastewater permits
Yeah,
and
I
all
think-
that stuff. It's making sure that people are.
Fair. Conversation for another day.
yeah.
We're gonna get back to that. Don't you worry.
Next year.
Yeah.
That's why you're leaving.
Next select board.
Okay, so
Do,
What are your thoughts?
no tents be allowed.
Just take it out
overnight?
because
Take
all
it
the
out.
other
Yes,
regulations
Yeah, it's-
would
it's
require that they have
confuse
access to
things.
the
If-
bathroom, the
Yeah.
food, blah, blah,
if someone can
It's
do that in a
just-
tent,
If
have
it's
at
this
it.
confusing for us now, it's
Yeah, just take it out.
gonna be
I love deleting things.
I think 6 is the same thing for me. We have a leash law. Why do we need to tackle it under? We have a dog ordinance, not a leash law, sorry.
I think, well, I think what that's saying, where this is that it needs to state on the permit so that the STR owner is well aware that any animals which are pets of guests shall not.
But
It reinforces
we don't have a leash law when,
shall not leave the subject parcel except when under control by leash. We do have a leash law.
no, we don't. We have the dog must be under control.
It can be voice
Oh,
control.
and this
or-
says under control by
Yes.
leash.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair.
We have a
That
dog.
would-
We
that
have
would
a dog.
conflict
I
with
don't
it.
think we need to regulate dogs
Yeah.
in this, or animals. I don't know.
Fine. I'm not-
Andy?
Pet ferrets must be on a leash. Less is more.
I agree. Strike it.
Strike.
Statement that no noise beyond normal levels.
Yeah, that's fine.
I think that's fine.
Leave it in there.
What is
Do we
emanate?
have
That's
a
our-
noise ordinance?
We do have a noise ordinance,
Is this in
and that's what I was just gonna say.
alignment
assuming
with
it-
that?
9 a.m., that'd be awesome. My neighbor.
9 a.m.?
Weed whacking
No,
at
this is
7 in the
not.
morning.
No,
I was gonna say, that can't be true. Like, we're all running saws at 7:30.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely break this one.
Someone else looking it up. I can't look it
Yeah.
up on here.
it should be so easy. That's another conversation.
Let's just dig into all of them tonight.
Where
No.
would that be? Where would that be?
We can solve all the problems.
If I'm searching for a document. Would it not be in here?
Are you looking at the noise ordinance?
I'm
Yeah.
not finding it.
It's after 10 p.m.
And until when?
I don't think it says.
Oh,
when
it doesn't?
ends, no.
Let's just, that's a good.
Leave it at after 10 p.m.?
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Good solution.
I like that. So we'll change that, a statement that,
Beyond normal levels, a statement that no noise beyond normal levels.
or a reminder of
emanate
the,
after 10 p.m.
a reminder of the town noise ordinance.
We could do the same with the dog ordinance.
As per
We already covered that. Let's not go backwards, Camilla.
noise ordinance.
Yep. 8. Seems fine.
Sorry, I lost us.
Why would, where's number 8?
It states it on the permit, which is posted in the STR.
Which the,
So that the people renting it are aware that if they violate
this
The-
8?
the
Yeah.
permit restrictions, it could be taken away. Sorry, team.
But if they violate the permit restrictions, or they're the people who say they violate the permit restriction, like
Whomever. If the permit
does it
restrictions are
matter?
violated, it can be revoked.
I'm fine with that. I don't know.
I just think you can't control everything that people do. Mm-hmm. And so I have a hard time with that one.
You're talking about inspection?
No, the
Talking
little
about number
8,
No, no,
or
Just
5C 8 or 7.
telling the
that
tenants.
eight, sorry. It's like
Tell-
8 is
telling the
inspection.
tenants that if they're bad tenants, they're up for the owner. Is that what that is?
Calling it-
No, this is this is procedure upon filing application.
Oh, okay.
This
So
is
we're
this is to
reminding
the
the
applicant. This is a
applicant that
reminder that you're
it's
this
revoked
may
or-
be revoked if
Short, no,
the violations.
I misunderstood.
Yeah,
My
Colin.
question was,
that's
you
not what it
know,
is.
what if we post all these
Hold on.
things, they're stated to the guests, right? Because guests are coming all the time. And then a host is alerted that they're in violation of one of these. and then the host reacts and tries to make the appropriate adjustments, then it's a violation after they've reacted and made whatever adjustments need to be made.
I think it's a violation. I think the violation is the first part, that,
Okay.
that there's been an issue and the owner is notified.
And then that comes back on the owners, and the owners have to pay a fine because the guest
Maybe.
made a mistake.
I don't think we have a
Yeah, we don't really-
fine
Okay.
system
Yeah.
in here.
I don't,
I think the purpose of that statement is, hey, you're jeopardizing the owner's ability
Sure.
to operate this
Fair.
STR if you violate these rules.
Absolutely.
I'm not reading that. Short-term
says
rental
under C.
permits short-term rental permits shall state the following.
Yeah.
the permit states.
The permit
permit
states.
states.
The permits to the owner.
To the app.
To the owner.
Yeah, to the owner.
Not to
I
the
misunderstood. I thought we were
Yeah.
posting this. or
That
something.
their
We did
permit
talk
may
about
be
that,
revoked for
so-
violations. It doesn't talk to the tenant, to the customer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Oh, okay.
It's when you take your permit home, it says this can be
We're
revoked
just
today.
reminding the
Yes.
firm, yeah.
Yes.
Yep. Makes it serious.
I'm kind of curious though if that, like to that point though, if there's like language in there that if not remedied or something like.
There's not.
Or we could add language.
If not
I think,
remedied, what?
I think that I think this is vague enough
Okay.
that it allows for remediation. And the understanding that like, if this doesn't get fixed and this just keeps happening, this permit's gonna be revoked.
That's a general legal catch-all, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just, we can
Seems
revoke
like it.
this, so, you know, it's not specific at this point. There is this whole compliance hearing thing, so maybe that covers it.
All right, we're good with that. We want to move on to this number 8, inspection. Zoning administrator may inspect the property before or at any time thereafter.
Yep, that's good.
Yep.
Should it say, or at any time thereafter, given some form of notice? Or is it, I mean, we don't legally have the right usually to just, like, even if you're in
'cause I'm
long-term
suspicious.
rental,
Well, we
right?
do if you're in the program. You're signing away that right.
Yeah.
We're
part
asking
of the
whether
permit.
Does that
that's.
feel fair to us?
Yeah.
Should it just be,
We're not looking to do it. It's just a piece.
Somebody-
Gives us the option.
It's a just in case. It's pretty non-invasive. I mean, well, it's invasive if you
Well,
actually do it. but it's-
anytime
it's
thereafter
not-
is like just an infinite amount of time though. I feel like it should be like while the permit is active.
Well, it runs with the
Oh.
permit, right?
Yeah.
As soon as you're not,
If you don't have a permit, then we don't have the right to
Then-
enter your
Right.
property. I was just thinking, or at any time thereafter, given 24 hours notice, or something to that effect, just so that it's not like,
What if it's an emergency?
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I don't disagree, but
But it's not, yeah. It's not gonna be an emergency for the zoning administrator
Yeah.
to go in there. It's
It's
gonna be an
not.
emergency
It could
for
be.
fire department or somebody,
I don't
why
know.
would the, what, in what
From an
scenario?
inspection standpoint, it doesn't feel like it's necessarily an emergency. But it's
Yeah.
fine, I mean, if no one's complaining about it, I don't care, I was just trying to be respectful of people's places.
I
Anytime
agree.
thereafter, as necessary. And
it,
just to
I think it's
give
fine.
it some crowd.
If we're not gonna give like a, hey, we're gonna give you 24 hours notice, then I don't think there's anything to add.
All right, well, it's,
good.
nobody's saying anything. Okay.
Yep. Record keeping. I don't know why that keeps showing up.
Yeah.
This was something people took a
Yeah.
fair amount of.
So this is, the first one is
Yeah.
written records by owners and operators of basically everything. All the advertised information, activity, number of people, names of guests for a minimum of 3 years. How does everyone feel about that?
What
Too
I keep,
much?
what I keep hearing is that anybody who's using a platform already has this. It's done for them. They don't have to do it. It's part of,
What if they're not using a
Platform.
platform?
then,
Why are we asking them to do this?
I don't,
Like, what purpose
think-
does this serve for us?
I think originally it was, and
It
this
allowed
could-
a-
I think the last time that we talked about this, one of the reasons why people were pushing for it was because if there is a discrepancy between what we're getting as information from our platform of like this Airbnb was rented out like 1 million times this year, or if someone's in violation or whatever of their permit, and we get that information, they can kind of go back to their own records and dispute it. I think it was more of a dispute like.
But isn't that,
For them.
shouldn't the owner keep that for themselves
Right.
if they want to
Why-
make?
Right,
Why
and
are
I
we
think
requiring them
that's
to
the
defend
thing, it's like,
themselves?
What do we do? So Devin's question, what are we gonna do with it? What do
The
we?
Right,
only
no, I
thing
think
I
This
can
is-
see of
this is data
value.
mining,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not into it.
not
me
it.
neither.
The only thing I can see from like a public safety perspective is if there were an incident and we needed a record of who was there on that night. But I don't,
That's gonna be
that's
there
the only, like,
somewhere else.
that's gonna be findable in another way, and we're not in the business of law enforcement.
Attorneys are
so-
gonna do that.
And we don't need,
Yeah.
we don't need to store data.
That's someone
Yeah.
else's right to provide that or not provide it too, I think.
Yeah, I
I don't
don't,
see any reason.
I don't
require
understand
it.
it.
I agree. I think
So
we
we're-
should take it out.
So if we take A out, then B goes, basically
Yeah.
we'd strike 9.
Strike 9.
Oh. So that's the reason for it.
Yeah,
Data mining is probably
Just
one of the
answer that question,
sources
so-
of
yeah.
Yeah?
all wrong in the world.
Well, we also, if we are hosting data, if we're holding that data, then that comes with a lot of requirements
Yeah.
for.
Well, we're not, we're asking them
Them
to. We're
to.
saying they have to.
Even
That's PII.
But,
That's like,
even
yeah,
still,
yeah.
yeah,
I'm
It
fine
comes
with-
with a lot of security things.
Yeah.
along with
Yeah.
it, too.
Also, even if we ask them to do that,
We don't know that's accurate.
and the second part is basically like, hey, the neighbors said y'all are running a short-term rental and you don't have a permit and you need, so now we're gonna inspect records that they're not keeping because they're
Right.
not engaged in the permit process. So like, it doesn't make any sense.
I agree.
Yep.
Yep.
Strike 9,
Strike 9.
please. Crushing it. 10.
10 is the new 9.
Yeah.
So this is where you get to the dog ordinance.
Yes, right, yes. It's implied.
This is spelling out the penalty
Fee set,
section.
yeah.
So it's really, A is the introduction, that makes sense. Boilerplate. B is if the ZA determines a violation.
This is the process.
This is the process.
Mm-hmm.
1, issue a notice. 2, impose a fine. 3, initiate a hearing before the select board. 4, attach reasonable conditions to the existing short-term rental permit.
But that's not a threshold thing. It can, any of those, any or all. of
Zoning
those can be
administrator
done.
determines a violation.
Yeah, no, it says, if the zoning administrator determines a violation, they may do any of the following depending on the circumstances. I'm just saying, it's not like, first they have to issue a
Oh, right.
notice, and if you don't comply, it doesn't,
There's no schedule.
right, they could just go right to
A fine.
a
Attach
fine
reasonable
or
conditions.
a hearing.
Or a
Yep.
hearing.
Which,
Okay, I think there must be a reason for that. I feel like they must have done that because they felt like some remediation efforts are more appropriate for various kinds of violations.
yeah, I'm kind of fine with this layout. It suggests a path, but if there's something egregious, we can
Right,
kind of
if it-
jump to a fine right away.
Or a hearing or conditions.
It's kind of it follows, I think, the way that we approach things as a board. You know, we reach out, issue a notice.
Well, to that end, if it were sequential,
That's-
that would,
Or at least start with issuing a notice. And then may do any of the other 3 in any order or combination.
Does it matter though? I mean, do we,
I-
I kind of like personally, I like the way it's structured. I don't, what do you guys think? Do you want to make it more prescribed?
I just have a question of like the difference between violating the permit versus violating the ordinance. So not being in compliance with the ordinance, you didn't get a permit, you have a short-term rental, we know about it.
Right.
That feels much different than,
Well,
I don't really know what violation of the permit means.
one of the things that we just discussed. If you have a permit, you're in the program. So you'd have to violate one of the conditions.
Okay.
Of that permit.
Yep.
To violate the ordinance would be operating an STR without a permit.
Right, and so what I'm saying is I feel like those are different to me,
Oh,
those are different
different.
levels of violation. And I feel like
Different
for people who are in compliance with the ordinance, I think having the notice as like the first step is not unreasonable to say, we noticed this is an issue, and then move to the next, you know what I mean? Like,
I do
more
know what you
forward.
mean. I think this is kind of an elegant solution to that because we can also instruct the zoning administrator what our intent is, that we'd like to see notices issued. This gives us all of the options, I think. And maybe that's why it was written this way, because
That just feels so subjective, and I have a hard time with that.
The piece that, I agree with you, Luke, for this board. I don't know what the next board looks like. I don't know what the board after that looks like. I don't know what their will to impose whatever will look like.
Yeah.
And so
We
I
do.
wonder if we should give it more thought on,
How prescribed do you want to make it?
we
I don't.
well, so
But I
the-
wonder if it might be needed.
we have talked about, this board will be in transition, and we have talked a lot, or we haven't talked a lot. One of the things that we've tried to do in my time on the board is not tie the hands of future select boards. I think this leaves it open, and I don't, separate from that, how much time do we want to spend laying out exactly how this
I wonder if it
penalty
could just
process
be
goes?
the first one. Like, what if it were always issue a notice to
Can I
remedy?
just ask a question? Because
Yeah.
it says violation of the permit, this ordinance, or the town's land use development regulations. So we already have a process for violating the regulations. Why wouldn't it be the same process? And this is more or less our process for any violation of our town regulations. So do we need to have something different in this than we would
That's a
our
good point.
usual?
I think you guys know because you just recently went to the ordinance school. But don't we have to, if we're gonna have a separate, don't we have to describe our fee schedule in this document?
We do, and
explicitly?
it needs to include the process
Yeah.
for, so I
So
think
I'm just
Camilla's saying
can
it
we
should
use
be
the
the
same
same.
process?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So we don't need to
Oh, okay.
reinvent the wheel. We already have a process. Can we just refer to the same process and make sure that they're aligned?
Yep.
The fee schedule is different, yeah.
Violations and enforcement.
We have a process for other ordinances.
We also haven't chosen what the cost of the permit is, correct?
Right.
Any of the fees we haven't discussed.
So, but the fees I see are on the next
Yeah.
screen.
For the fines, yeah.
But don't you need to
They're
know?
recommended.
you
They
need
don't
to-
have to be,
But you need to choose what your permit fee is.
yeah, but it
'Cause
doesn't
that's
have
gotta
to
be-
be relative to that.
Doesn't
The fines can be,
The fine needs to be more than the permit fee, or else no one's gonna. There's no incentive to pay the permit fee
yeah.
otherwise.
Would you like to hear how this reads for violations of a zoning ordinance?
Yeah,
All violations will be pursued in accordance with the act 4451, 4452, and 4454.
That's helpful.
Okay.
Each day that a violation continues shall constitute a separate offense. The administrative officer shall institute in the name of the town any appropriate action, injunction, or other proceeding to enforce the provisions of these regulations. And all fines imposed and collected for violations shall be paid over to the town.
This is interesting. Not more than $200. Any
For
person
each
who
offense.
violates any bylaw after it's been adopted or who violates a comparable ordinance, regulation.
You have to have 7 days warning by certified mail.
Where are you guys?
Four, four,
BSA,
five, one.
24
Oh,
BSA
good. We
4451.
They're ahead of you.
Oh, this is,
Has the town issued a lot of fines in 2024 for anything?
Oh, you know us,
No,
we're
that is
just
not in the past.
issuing fines.
We're not-
Right. Trying to
Yeah,
close that budget gap, Perry.
The last time we issued a fine was for the dog attack.
yeah, it's very rare.
I remember that one.
That was $500.
We got close with the junkyard situation on Prickly, I think. To a fine. I think
I don't
that was,
remember.
that
I
was the
don't-
next step, but it was remedied prior to that.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I don't think we got there with the Alpine Village.
We've never, no.
So no, the answer is no, not really.
Yeah.
So it's like pick a number then.
Well, no, yeah, but we've never. saw-
$2,500
Fines we've never
limits.
looked at as income generating. We're looking at the, this to pay for the software. That's it through the enrollment, not,
Right, not through the fines.
Yeah.
right.
So if the fines aren't really usually levied, then if it's $100 or
Yeah,
$50 or $200, it doesn't really matter.
it has to have, like Andy says, it has to have some bite.
And you can always change them at a later date, right?
Oh, yeah, yep.
Well, if it says in here with 4451 that they shall not be fined not more than $200, that seems like the upper end of what.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to do
That-
some editing.
I
there.
haven't looked at the full.
That's for a
ordinance.
zoning violation.
right.
That's what this
Right.
is?
Well, or any ordinance. This is municipal.
I'm just,
regional thing.
I was just reading out of the land use development regs. So that's for a land use development
Right.
violation specifically. So to that end, if they violated land use development regs, they could only be
Right.
What is the
fined up to
statute?
$200.
The statute is for zoning, what is that specific to?
It does,
Title 24 municipal and county government. Let's see.
planning and development. It just, and it really isn't specific. Any bylaw after it has been adopted under this chapter or who violates a comparable ordinance or regulation adopted under prior enabling laws. I
feel like this is just a-
Drives me crazy.
And we can ask for
Yeah.
advice on this also,
I think that's one where we would want to ask for advice.
for sure.
Yeah.
Who are we asking for advice from?
On the VLCT or,
It does sound like that says we can't levy a violation greater than $200 for anything.
it
Well,
looks
it
like.
depends on what it pertains to. We haven't looked
Yeah.
at the definitions section
It says
to
municipal
understand what
government,
it's.
but anyway,
We
so,
did,
What
we
the-
did bigger for
Yeah.
that dog incident, so
Okay,
there's
so
obviously more to it than that.
Yeah.
this,
maybe.
oops.
I haven't looked at 4452
Obviously, maybe.
yet, or.
Anyway, why don't we go, we can come back to the amounts.
What did I say? 4451, 4452, and
So for,
I don't
let's,
remember.
what are we gonna do with B?
What was B?
Well, it reads in accordance with the way this reads,
Okay,
giving the option to do anything they want,
yep,
however they want it. 5-4.
The statute that we just referred to does require 7 days written notice and the opportunity to remedy in 7 days before they issue a fine.
So
I
we can
would
start with
be-
notice.
Yeah,
Yes,
I just think you should
You
always
have
start with
to
notice.
Start with notice. You
Yeah.
always have to
You
start
can't
with
just
notice.
find somebody without talking to them.
This isn't necessarily finding a guest, this is
No.
finding
this is finding the-
a owner.
Yeah.
Everything relates to the owner, yeah.
Right. So the guess is if there's a violation, somebody's making too much noise on Saturday night, and then they're gone on Monday morning, it's kind of remedied itself. So it's more.
Yes, but it's still a violation.
Right, so is it gonna repeat every weekend, every Saturday night, a new group comes in and makes all kinds of noise? That's kind of more it's a problematic rental.
And that's what this could, that's why we have this section.
Right, so we would wait and
Facilitating
see
too much of the good
if we got more complaints and then issue
Right.
a notice and say, we're getting regular complaints and you have such and such to.
Who's vetting these complaints? And
The zoning administrator.
Zoning administrator and
they're
the,
like somebody, you know, there are some neighbors out there who are just not that nice, as we all know, and some people,
And that is the way of the world.
yeah, just
I
wondering.
mean,
yep.
Make up complaints and
Sure.
stuff against to cause problems.
How do I,
And-
how do I do
and-
that?
we can
that's
do
not-
that now
hold
with
on.
any, it's short-term
That's
rental
fair.
or anything
That's
else.
a very good point.
And we do.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just
that-
roll,
yes, it
roll number one
Still
into,
big complaint.
take the language from
Right.
the statute, the 7 days, whatever that specific language was.
Quick question, if I may.
Yes, Hillary?
Is there a appeal process in the regular zoning one? I think my thought is just if you do have found it or something, like, is there any sort of process to appeal?
Yes,
There
there
should
is,
always
there's an appeal process.
Okay.
Followed by any of the following.
Works.
I think we can, yeah, wordsmith that from the, I think we should check with the LCT, don't you think? And find
Yes.
out.
Yes.
And then, maybe.
Although I'm curious if they'll have much information for us, because the reason we have to do this is that it isn't done.
I know, everybody's doing it. But
Well,
they're all doing it
but
differently.
specific to fine, I'm sure they can help us with the
Yeah, just the
notice and-
process for
I don't think
fines.
that's unique to this. And we could get help from the PC, you know, Dan could help us work this again. Are we good with B? We good with the rest? So we basically just making the initial notice a requirement.
Yes.
Would it be helpful if I read out what Stowe did for their short-term rental registry for
Just
enforcement?
tell us what's, if they
Read
have
every
a,
single one.
yeah, tell us what would help us here.
Let me just read that.
She's gonna read the whole ordinance from start to finish, and you're gonna
Doing that.
recite it back to us, Luke.
I mean, I can leave tonight.
If
your
y'all
call.
insist on torturing me.
It doesn't talk about appeal.
What do we think about this? Kaylee, do you want to?
No, I'm not gonna be able to
Yeah.
process this in this short amount of time, so,
Okay.
but it might be worth looking at.
It does seem that there should be something in here, some statement about the ability to appeal. So that owners know what their options are.
It does say who is authorized to issue violations.
Is there an appeal?
So that's all sort of part of that ordinance process, right? And so that's why you have to cite the act that you derive the power from to issue the fine, who's in charge of the fine, what is the fine. So if Act 4451 is the act from which we draw the power to do this, we need to follow the rules set forth therein.
So we need to know what the act is that we are following, and
And I
that needs
think
to be
they
in the
did-
beginning. right?
Yeah, it does. Authority.
Right?
So
We have
24
say 19
Appeal
VSA.
process in here. We can,
2291 and 1971.
That's probably should bring that up. Did we look at
They're not there
A
yet.
under the, oh, we
They're
did?
not there yet.
Okay.
would,
They're lying in wait for us.
yeah.
No, I just read it and I was like, yo.
Do you want to add an appeal process? Because we're going to consult VLCT so we can,
I mean, the way the Stowe did it is they said that any person who violates a provision of the civil ordinance shall be subject to a civil penalty for each violation, and therefore subject to relief or enforcement, basically the appeals process available under Chapter 59 of Title 24,
Chapter 59 of Title 24. That's where we're driving our power.
apparently, yes.
I'm fine with incorporating that.
What's incorporated in the authority section of this ordinance,
Yep.
is that what we refer to in the fee, or is that what we refer to for the appeal structure? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
Add the appeal?
just make it clear. Right?
And then their fee structure is the first offense is $100, second offense is $200, third offense is $300, fourth and subsequent offenses $400. And then that's for waiver fees, and then for civil penalties, it's first offense is $200, second offense is $400.
So let's add C and add language on the appeal. Appeals, right to appeal pursuant to that section, chapter 59, whatever it was.
Title 24.
Good memory. Do you want to add that, Devin?
Yeah, I'm doing it. Will you say that again? Sorry, I was just stuck in formatting land. I'm below you. If you wanna
Appeal,
move further down. I'm putting it below the fine schedule. Is that wrong? Do you want it above the fine schedule?
I think above the fine schedule, so it's ABC, so it's not missed.
But isn't the fine schedule part of B?
Is it? Sure, yeah, C's fine. Or below is fine.
Okay, what am I saying?
Right to appeal. What's another word for pursuant?
You don't want to use it?
Is that the right word?
Pursuant to
Chapter 59,
chapter
title
59.
24.
Yeah.
Don't I have to use those fancy something or others?
VSA
It's
24.
okay, I think in editing we can,
Those will magically appear.
And chapter 20 Vermont statutes annotated.
yeah. VSA.
So I don't have to do the final edit of this?
I think we should run it by VLCT. I think
Yeah.
we should run this section
Whoa.
by. What?
Yeah, sorry, I was just looking at the notes and the,
Yeah.
Mitch, maybe. I think I see where the question,
Well,
Did you find,
not that
did you
I
find
had any
that one?
plans to do anything, but wow.
I missed that before.
What's in the notes section?
Oh, you'll see it.
A?
Like, don't.
Yeah.
Is it A?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've been looking at that one all along.
Maybe we'll stay on the board.
Yeah, exactly. Just line my pocket.
Okay, so we're good with C, so we're good with the language, we want to move on to the table, right?
Yeah.
Okay. The whole thing is overly complicated for me, I think. Kaylee, was Stowe's table it just said first, second, third
They
violation?
didn't have a table, they just had kind of bullet points.
I would
First
much rather
offense,
see that
second
than saying the
offense,
fine
third
for
offense.
advertising a property or fine for violating.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
Wait, one
Oh,
is the fee
Right.
associated with not participating
yeah.
in the ordinance, and the other is for a violation within the ordinance.
Well, they're
No?
both within the ordinance. The ordinance says you have to register.
Okay, within the permit requirements. Isn't that what it's trying to say?
Yeah, but,
Right, so like if you're just doing it and you didn't even care to get a
right.
permit.
That's why that's
It's a
why they
higher
made that
violation,
higher.
to Andy's point.
To get
So that you
participation.
participate in the ordinance.
That's why they have it separate.
And if you are participating and you're found in violation, okay, now you need to fix this thing.
Right.
Okay.
But we have no idea what right we rightfully have the ability to ask for as a fine.
Right.
So we can't,
Put numbers in.
Well, we could put amounts
Right.
tonight and they could be adjusted later if needed.
But to Andy's point,
The amount
we don't
for the
know
first
what-
for not,
if we don't know what we're gonna charge for registration, then what's the penalty?
You
We're
kind
not
of know what you're
registering.
not gonna charge though, right?
Not
You're
gonna-
not gonna charge $500.
We don't know that.
Well, he's saying if it's $300, people are gonna choose 300 over 500 is what he's saying.
I know, and I'm saying we don't,
So we're not, so he's saying,
we go higher anyway, is what you're saying?
he's saying,
should we keep in mind that it gets higher the more you violate it? So if someone's gonna operate a short-term rental once and pay the 300 instead of the 500, fine. But if they're gonna do it twice, now they're gonna pay 600 on
then you
top of
gotta
this.
catch them each time.
Yeah, you gotta catch them.
yeah.
And that's
And we
gonna
don't,
take
and we
time.
don't have
Yeah, we're not
we're-
watchdogging.
Yeah, we're not setting the dogs out here.
And you want them to sign up. That's, you know,
So-
to get the
so-
information.
At what point do we choose the permit fee? Is that like the last line on this, or is it not?
It's not.
It's not
No.
in
They,
here.
they,
It's not in here.
DC
Not part of
couldn't
this.
Right.
make
So
recommendations of,
if we're dealing with, this is our last section, right?
yeah. This
So
is the
If we
hardest
wanna
part
put this
for
to
me.
bed tonight, we should,
Discuss the fee.
We
yeah.
have to, cause Luke's leaving.
Right. So, what's the fee?
Yeah.
$250. That's my
How you-
starting
If it's
number.
helpful, Stowe also has a nice little clause in here that says the select board may from time to time establish and adopt fees related to the administration of the ordinance, including STR registration and renewal fees. It may incorporate all such fees duly adopted in the fee schedule. So just noting that we could give ourselves a little leeway within the ordinance itself too,
Change the fees.
to
Well-
change the fees too.
Yeah.
I like that.
What does the fee need to be? What's the purpose of the fee? The purpose of the fee is to at least cover the $30,000 that it's costing.
The $30,000 that the
Initial
Granicus initial setup,
and maintenance.
Granicus part of it, but we have
Yep.
administrative staff too, so
Yep.
it's gonna be more than that.
Right. So,
Yeah.
So you're covering that, you're covering twice that.
And
What was our count on, it was at least 400?
Right.
As,
Close to
closer to
450.
six.
Grant has at one time said 587
Yeah.
unique listings.
yeah. And
And they were thinking that
maybe 80%
80%,
of that
that's what I remember,
will,
will join
Comply.
if it's, as long as it's reasonable.
so conservatively, let's say 450 times 0.8, 360.
Times 250.
It's gonna be way more than
It's gonna be, yeah, it's a
Yeah.
lot.
yeah.
there's a Christmas party in there.
They also said.
It's
to
90K.
expect,
Ty.
What's that?
every-
The Granicus also said to expect like 80% or so.
That's why
Yep.
we multiplied it by 80, by
Yeah.
So, so 90,000 bucks.
90,000.
More than enough. There's
Right,
250.
right, so do we
Is
need?
250 too much?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, but we were also told, what was the thing about?
I don't
If it's
understand the thing
too
about if it's too
low.
low.
I don't
They just
understand it
won't
either.
As long as the
do that.
fine is gonna be higher, then it doesn't matter what the registration fee is. I mean, people aren't gonna be, they're not gonna comply because the registration fee is higher.
Right,
It's only if the fee
I think
for not
Granicus told us
complying
that
is
people
higher.
would take it more seriously if it was higher. I don't know what, I don't know where they come to from this. I don't think we need to make it,
So here, yeah, so here, if we do $250 fee is $90K, $200 is $72K, $150 is $54K.
What happens at 70% compliance? I'm
Right.
curious, because I feel, they said between, I thought they said between 70 and 80%.
So that's
And I'm just-
$315.
But that was initially, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, so-
year
so
one.
we've got that-
I want to make
Eventually-
sure, but we need to cover year one, because that's also the year that we have the onboarding costs, which are higher.
Okay.
78K.
We
And
also
it was
don't know.
promoted, it was promoted at town meeting as covering the cost of the software.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, exactly.
So you gotta
So
come-
We need to do that, and we need to be safe that
We
we're
need
going to be able to do that.
Yeah,
we need to
and
safely do that,
Just-
but I
But
think
we
we
don't need
also
to
want to be
over-
careful that
yeah.
this is not a revenue, we're not looking at
So
this as a revenue generator.
At 70%, that same breakdown, 250, 200, and 150 is 78,000, 63,000, 47,000.
I would be comfortable with 150 then.
So I'm fine with that too, so then that covers us in the event of low compliance,
Probably.
and a low number, and a
you can
lower
always give
number.
rebates.
That's another ordinance.
Thanks, Barry.
If you collect too much money, you can give it back.
I think the
Right,
select board
right.
Christmas party, is not right.
Just check.
Thought that was a cruise this year.
And we're taking the PC with us.
There you go.
So $150, we're good with that?
It's a little low, but
I think that's how it
Why
feels
is
to me,
it
and
low?
let's just talk it through, because you said that we shouldn't look at it as a revenue stream.
Right.
And I'm curious because not that it should be a revenue stream for the town, but one of the things that we have talked about in conjunction with this all along is making use of some of the funds that we raise through that registration fee to help fund attainable housing initiatives. And I
Let's
wonder.
wait until we have the data.
yeah,
See, we're actually just collecting data. And if we go into it as, oh, we're gonna use this for attainable housing building, then we have basically sort of put forward the conclusion that because we know STRs are impacting.
I don't see it that
yeah.
way. I think we know that STRs exist and that they are plentiful and that we have a lack of attainable housing. I don't think it's necessarily a blame on the short-term rental. And so the reason I'm asking this question is if you set the fee really low, it's very challenging to raise it if needed any more than some certain percentage. So I'm wanting us to be mindful of what we think over the near term it should be with costs consideration. How are costs going up? Are we paying for our own internal administration through this as well? That kind of stuff.
That's,
Jim, go ahead.
that's the point I wanted to make, is you gotta make sure you cover whatever head count that you don't know is there, right? I mean, and it could be a half a person up front,
Yeah.
all week long for a couple months.
For a couple
Yeah.
months, but not
Not forever.
forever.
But it's still gonna, there is some
So
head count number here.
$47,000 gives you $17,000 for that.
And 47K is on the low end.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right, that's the
Yeah.
70% compliance.
So the number that I
We have two cushions
threw
in
out
there.
was 60, would be double what the Granicus piece and another on top.
We could get that very conservatively with a $200 fee.
Yes.
That feels
just-
more reasonable to me. Just as far as making sure that we
So-
cover our costs.
So Granicus told us, I believe, there was a average night cost for these places. And I think it was in the 350, 400.
No, it was
It was much higher.
It was
700 or
286,
something.
and they recommended that you do it
Double
2x or
that.
3x.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what it was, 'cause it
750 is
was-
what they recommend.
Right.
Yeah.
750 is what
That's
they
a big
recommended,
number.
and that never felt right to me.
No.
That felt like gouging, and that felt like if I was the guy getting that bill, I would be screaming.
Right.
But that is how Killington, that's how they funded their fire chief.
Yes, there you go.
Right, I
And-
mean, so there was a reason that, there could be a valid reason to do something like that.
It is, At some point.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're-
At some point.
We're starting
This is
from the premise.
This is the gathering of,
Yeah.
of the data.
We're not going out saying, oh my gosh, we have to, SDRs are causing all this trouble and we need to recoup this money. We have to remember that's not what we're doing. We
Yeah.
stated it in our purpose.
I'm not looking
We're
at
trying to
this
collect
like that at
data.
all.
We're trying to collect data and we want to,
And cover
make
the
everybody
cost.
aware of,
Yep.
yep, and we want to make everybody aware of good neighborly, safe policies. So what do we need to do to cover our costs comfortably? And I don't think it's appropriate to talk at this time about any extra money for anything.
Yep.
Agreed.
I think $200 sounds reasonable to me.
So
I
at
agree.
70%, $200 is what?
63,000.
Yep.
So that covers 30K and it leaves us 30K cushioning in the event that this is an administrative nightmare that we didn't foresee.
And or there are things that we didn't account for in our contract
Sure.
with Granicus that they're gonna bill us for.
Yeah,
Then, yep.
yeah, totally.
Also fair.
Yeah.
Overruns.
Yep.
Sure.
So we're good with that, $200, back to so now we have a basis, a
Does that
multiple for the
get-
fine set schedule.
Input in here somewhere?
No.
It's not in there
it's not
anywhere.
there. Fee schedule is separate.
Okay.
So now going back to this, are we good with the table? Do you guys like the split between not being a part of the program and any other violation?
So it would be cheaper for you to register than it would be to violate for your first violation
Yep.
for not registering.
Yep.
And you presumably would then also have to register to remediate that violation.
That's
So,
pretty much how it
yeah.
would go.
Yeah.
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 Violating any other requirements.
Is Granicus confident of catching people who are renting and not participating?
They gather
Yes.
data, so they can see people listing on the various sites that list the STRs,
So-
and then we can compare that data to who's registered in the
How
town.
do you account for like duplicate listings and stuff? Because I have listings where I have two listings.
I think
for the same
they,
exact
I think
thing, and
they
they'll-
do
They
that.
do some data
Yeah.
driven.
Cool. Wow.
Because they'll pair, I don't know how they do it, whether it's addresses or.
We
It
can
would depend on what medium they're mining through, but yeah, because they're legally not allowed to like pull certain data from like certain mediums, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I've been on some of that's interesting.
Well, and I'm sure that there will, like, these are some of the quirks that we'll probably have to
Right.
work through.
No big
And
deal.
you'll call us and be like, hey, I'm getting a violation
Right.
for a property that we have a permit for.
Sure.
But they're pretty confident they can, I guess, get all the names, addresses, and phone numbers for each person. And
They say they can.
Yes, between what's publicly available and what we give them from the assessor's database.
Yeah.
so non-compliance, non-registering should be a pretty
Should
high
be able to.
accuracy, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So what about the fines for violating any other requirements? 150, 300, 450? I kind of like 100, 200, 300.
I was gonna
Me
say,
too.
I liked
Me too.
100 better, and I was trying to figure out why, why I felt that way. What do you think, Mila?
It's fine.
Okay, now on to the notes. I don't,
It doesn't
Yeah,
make
really-
any sense. How is the violation $100 and you have to give us all the money you made?
and how would we ever prove, that's a.
Can we just write that into everything? Anything you do
Give
I don't
us
like,
all
you
your money.
give us all your profits. How about that? I really don't understand that one.
Strike
Never have.
A.
Strike A.
Yeah.
B is a that's a statute or boilerplate thing. I don't know if we can do that or not.
So, interestingly enough, with respect to B, if we're talking about being in a line with the way that I don't know, I wonder if this is VLCT again, because what I just read to you out of the zoning ordinance, each day that you're in violation of the land use development regs is a new violation.
Yeah, that's what Stowe has in theirs too.
Which would mean that every day you don't pay the fine,
Yep.
It's a new fund.
it's a new fine. Is that right? Am I extrapolating that correctly?
That is right.
Or is it just a new
I think it
violation
is.
and we would choose to levy a fine? But like somebody could. That's
what?
part of the
What?
vagueness of, well,
That's all about negotiating at the, when you're adjudicating.
Right, I mean, the chances of us doing that, but yeah, that is the
But
way it's written.
I can see where you'd use that as an option. I mean, you hear about that in the news about how someone's fined $1,000 per day
Yeah.
for, whatever.
not showing up to court.
Well, that I think of it more as in land use cases where someone's in violation and refuses to comply.
Right, that's where you have a certain amount of time to remediate it before that starts kicking in.
It says each day on the Stowe one, each day of the violation continues shall constitute a separate offense, provided, however, that the liability for continuing violation shall not accrue unless and until 7 days have expired after the notice.
Which is what was in the statute.
Okay, so that's what you're saying, you have 7
Yeah,
days.
7 days after
to
you get
pay
the
it.
notice, yeah, before that kicks in.
And then after the 7th day, it's a new fine every day.
It can be.
I mean, I think our intent is to
It has
get
to be,
to
can be,
to fix violations.
right.
So we need to get their attention. We don't, I mean, whether it's interest, I think that's a VLCT question. And it should be in line with our other ordinances.
Well, interest is interesting. I think we only have the right, from what I've been told, state statute is 1%. But I don't know, that's like that.
What do our
that
other
doesn't-
ordinances say? Or
I don't
let's,
think any of them use interest.
okay.
I think I would prefer what Kaylee was just reading to us from,
Stowe's.
yeah, like the idea of, I don't know, I'm not sure.
You're there. Traffic ordinance.
Can you copy and paste that and text it to me?
Not having those ordinance? I thought.
The dog ordinance has nothing on accumulation.
Violations, appeal of fees.
This is basically a 2-year sunset. And then if it isn't working out or if something needs to be toughened, we can toughen it then.
Right, good point.
And also,
So I don't think spending a lot of time on it now is really good, well spent on our part.
As long, I mean, we'll have it, we need to have it reviewed
Yeah.
for legal whatever, as long as we're not putting in anything that is overly, what's the word, punitive. I would rather make it harsher as we go on
I
than,
think we struck all the real punitive stuff out, so
Okay,
I think we're done.
yeah.
do you want to leave B in here like this, or do you want to pull the verbiage from the statute that Kaylee was just sending me?
It's not a statute, it's from Stowe's ordinance.
But I thought
Well,
it
there is.
referenced the statute at the end.
Oh, it does reference the statute at the end, and in the fees.
which just means that it's in line with what chapter 59.
Well, we assume that they've done their homework on what it's in line.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
I think there's,
Well, do we want to leave this in or do we care? I mean, we're,
I was just gonna switch it out for the other, what
I'm trying,
seems.
it's not copying and pasting, it's a
Oh.
PDF, so
Oh,
it's impossible.
Do you wanna read it to me, or do you guys wanna leave it as interest?
or take it out entirely.
Well, let the LCT tell us it's
Yeah.
needed or not.
Okay.
So leave it
We
in?
can even ask them, just put a little note on it saying, is this necessary?
Right,
Yep.
inappropriate.
And C
Yeah, this is
seems
appropriate.
like boilerplate, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
2 years expiration. Think we're fine with that, right?
Yep.
Anything else? Do we wanna?
How about, I just wanted to add, and may adopt a new ordinance to replace this one? We don't have to. Will revisit the issue
I agree.
and may adopt a new ordinance. We may scrap the whole damn thing.
Yeah.
Yep. Good point.
That works.
Okay.
Okay,
Now
now what
what?
happens with this document?
We're giving it to VLCT
Yep.
and maybe
Are we
to,
giving it to,
maybe to Nick.
is
if we
Rebecca
need to.
doing the initial edit based on the suggestions that we've made? And then we give it to the LCT? I
So,
don't think we should give them an unedited document necessarily.
so
Right.
we've taken our sweet time and I believe we have to spend this money by the end of the year or raise it again.
It's true. But
So-
the-
It can't go to too many places to get reviewed.
Somebody just needs to accept the edits before it gets sent to. I mean, she needs to read through it once and make sure that it makes sense and then send it to VLCT. It's gonna be very confusing for them to read it this way.
we're
I
not
think.
likely to hire Granicus before the end of the year. And that would be spending the money. That's what the money was for, was
Yes,
Granicus.
so I'm saying that check needs to be written by the end of the year.
So
Or-
you think
or-
getting this approved is gonna get that done?
I think that we can't really just wait for Rebecca to get back from vacation.
That's what I'm,
I'm thinking that one of us has to run with this to VLCT and say, give me your read on this and see what they say. And they might say, we'll look at it after Christmas. And then that's no good.
I agree.
Also,
So-
wait, hang on, question.
Granicus
Can't
will
we-
also be
Yeah.
reviewing it.
Can't we engage with Granicus even if the ordinance isn't in place because we haven't actually started the registration process?
What they said was, and did you just watch it today? Did you just watch that? No, you didn't, okay.
I tried to, but
They,
link it.
oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The first thing they need to do is see the ordinance so that they can create the registration
Okay.
form.
Right, which I'm wondering if we can start that process while we're making a couple of minor tweaks with VLCT.
And that's what I'm thinking is they said they would review the ordinance for us, so
Yeah.
we could send our draft to them.
So let's,
But
And
let's
an
do
engagement
that.
But
letter.
we'll have to engage with them.
So does that go to the PC then?
Why?
No.
No.
The ordinance is
Select
ours.
board to do it.
Okay, so I was just,
Yeah.
I imagined that the PC might be heading up the communications with Granicus, is that
No,
not
and
the
pretty
case?
much from the conversation last night, I think the PC said,
It's most efficient for
do, you guys
go direct.
just do it,
I
yeah.
agree.
Yep.
Yeah. So,
We can do that.
no, who's doing that?
I can do that.
In addition to VLCT.
Yes.
Right.
So,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
we're gonna get Granicus going with the draft and an engagement letter and ask them for an invoice
So that we have it
so
in the
that we
books for
can
this
have
year.
Dana send them a check.
Which just has to be invoiced, right?
I think it needs to be spent.
Paid, okay.
Yeah, I think so. And then in the same hand, we can send it off to the LCT, see if, or call them and see if they, who in their office looks at it and what they think about it.
So it's contacting Samantha at Granicus. Do you have her contact info? Okay.
Yeah, I think that's an email. If not, I'll get it from one of you. And we'll reach out, we'll get the questions to VLCT too.
Are you gonna read through this, accept the edits, and get
Yeah.
a clean draft?
Yeah, if I have questions, I'll ask you guys, but my intent would be to clean this up so
Yeah.
that there's
Yep.
yeah.
I think we've got it pretty
I think it's pretty,
straightforward now.
yeah. I know we've spent 8 weeks on it, but it is only a few pages.
Good.
Excellent.
And then next meeting is when? For us?
I would say we have to talk about that. We don't. So if we do the 17th, it'd be nice to do something the 17th, which
Yes.
is next week, because after that it's
Because the next
24th and 31st.
Right.
So we would need to pull together something.
New Year's party.
Ooh.
Yeah.
We could go to midnight. Wouldn't that make somebody happy? Look at
I
you,
have
Dad.
plans. I appreciate you though.
We can do.
What are we talking about? 17th?
Yeah, I guess I'll
It
take
was
a look
already
at the
in my
budget and see where we're at to see if there are things that we can do for the 17th. I think we should plan on the 17th unless there's.
Let's plan on the 17th.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be right to have a Tuesday in December without a budget meeting, so.
Okay, so that's good on
Okay,
this.
so
And none on the 24th or the 31st?
None on the 24th or 31st.
definitely not.
Just to be clear,
Nobody's coming on the 24th.
for the 31st.
Hillary, yes, I think that's the Hillary is asking once the draft is finalized, can we share with the public again? Yeah, I think that's fair. So we'll put that on the website.
So after you've accepted changes?
Yeah,
publish that
the
on website?
clean version will,
Just write draft across the top.
yep.
Thank you.
Thank you for participating.
Does anybody here have any questions or communications?
Nice work.
Thank you, same to you guys.
Thank you all for
Are you pretty
participating.
comfortable with
Thank
it?
you very
Yeah,
much.
Very
it seems
helpful.
healthy.
Okay.
I just
okay.
am worried about in 2 years because I know there's a lot of people that like to go a lot of different directions.
Yeah,
Just being honest.
I think,
the nature of it.
showing up and being out front with what your concerns are will
Yeah.
go a long way, no matter who you're talking to.
Sure.
Yeah,
And yes, because, and we'll see what the data tells us, that's the whole idea,
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
start there.
otherwise you just get the echo chamber of everybody with their own idea of what the data is gonna mean
Right.
that they
Yep.
don't have.
Yep.
So,
Also see what happens to the real estate market.
Yeah,
Things could be different in 2 years.
that is very
Going
true.
down
Right.
every day.
Yeah.
Yep, so many things
I think
you
it's,
can't predict.
I think it's right sizing itself a little bit at a time, and it'll
Sure.
take a while. I don't think it's gonna plummet, and I don't think it's gonna do what it did the last 5 years. I hope not. It's nice to be land rich, but it kind of sucks sometimes.
Great. Last thing we have to do is discuss the Warren Arts Committee funding
Right.
request.
Did you get any more information from Dan?
No,
Bye,
no, nothing
thank
clear.
you.
Good night,
Night,
thank you guys.
Take care.
So the Warren Arts Committee, just to refresh everyone's memory, is asking, they initially asked for $10,000 to help cover, to replenish their funds so that they can cover programming going forward. Their budgeting is unclear, but they do have some they have some things to fund in this year and some upcoming expenses that they would like to fund and do not have the money for. So they're asking for our help.
Okay, do you know the answer to whether they are asking for $7,700 in 2024? Or does that include the 25, or a certain amount that we would be putting in their budget for next year?
They're asking for money now. I think the way that I look at it is that they have $300 right now.
Yeah.
So they need money. They have scheduled programming without funds.
Well,
Good night.
Good night,
Good
Jim.
night.
Jim.
So
Thank
they
you.
say, Camilla, they say this would also allow WAC to not ask for an increase in town funding through special appropriations, which to me implies they're still asking for the special appropriation.
Oh, yes. So I misunderstood. Yes, $2,500. They
So they
intend to
want-
ask for that again. For 2025. They've asked for it and received it for 2024.
So they want $7,700 of
So-
ARPA funds.
at this point, funds can be used to cover outstanding programs, I don't know what that means, that were
So what-
committed by WAC in 2023. Those are musicians for the contradance in January of 2023. That means they never paid that bill?
Don't know.
$400, and the upcoming VSO concert, $2,500. I get that. But it sounds like they have outstanding balances of
That's-
$2,900.
So Luke's saying that they were given their 2024 budgeted stipend in 2024 after Virginia was gone or before?
Yeah,
That I
she
don't
died
know.
December 30th, so. we
Of
weren't-
2023.
Okay,
Yeah, so we didn't
that-
approve it till
So they have
March, so they have
$2,500
$2,500.
for this year.
Right,
Yeah.
They have it. Where is it? They
That I
spent it
don't know.
already?
That I don't know.
that's what I don't,
Why do they only have 300 left?
That's I'm
This
just
is very
going on.
unclear.
yeah. And funds will also be used to continue the programs that were sponsored in 2023 that they were not able to fund in 2024, which amounts to $2,300. I don't understand.
It's not clear.
I will be happy to talk to Maria and see if Maria can
Good.
explain it, but I don't think we can give Dana an answer today.
We need
because
a
we need
little
more information.
forensic
Yeah.
analysis of the.
Yeah, I just need,
So I think going another route is the only way we're gonna get an answer to this, because this is our third try.
Yeah. That's fine. Yeah. Maria,
I'll
I mean,
reach out to Maria tomorrow.
And
And
we're
we
not.
have to make this decision next week.
Well,
I mean,
Because
either way.
if it's
I
gonna be
think we
made
need-
with ARPA funds.
I think
So-
we could, yeah, go ahead.
So when is the concert? It's this coming weekend?
I think next.
Soon.
So this weekend's the
I
13th.
think it's before our next meeting. I think it's this
I think.
weekend.
Yeah.
Is what I remember hearing. Anyway, if they're wondering where this is going to come from, we need to figure that out because the Arts Committee is, if they've already signed up for this, we need to pay for it.
So could we make a motion to approve the $2,500
Coming from where?
for the concert?
ARPA.
Oh,
We can have a special meeting, I think. Well, I
You
don't
would?
even think,
Yeah, let's
I-
do that.
because I don't.
okay, that's fine
Normally,
with me.
if this was
Just need
a,
to do it in the next
there's too
2
many-
days if if
Yep.
it's this weekend, right? Or,
Yep,
I don't know when they
around.
get paid.
We can
I-
do-
You know,
they
it
probably
might
don't
be
get
fun
paid
getting
till
a check in a
afterwards.
month.
Right.
So
Okay, I'll talk to Maria and I will email
let's do
everybody
that
and
and
let
let
them
us know what you find out.
yeah.
I'm gonna be away the rest of the week, so go forth and conquer without me.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Thank you.
We'll figure out how to,
You'll figure it out.
we'll figure it out.
I'll just make you talk about it 6 more times anyway.
We'll do a recap. We'll do a hefty recap.
Except Deb. Okay,
You can email me.
Anything else?
okay.
I got nothing
You just may
else.
not answer.
No? We have nothing to sign, so.
So where are we at with the MOU, the MURAS? Do we need them to speak to us?
Yeah,
Yes.
Yes.
we need to know
We need the
number.
budget.
Do we need the number?
Get a
What are we
dollar
being
amount and
asked
approve
for?
next week. Luke will find out. That's what I
Okay,
wrote
we'll
down.
deal with it next week. And
Well, I'm gonna-
I know I have the number somewhere because I've seen it.
So if you find it, send it to me. Otherwise, I'm gonna reach
Yeah,
out either way.
I'll look when I'm not on my little screen.
Any idea who you think it came from?
It's probably someone from the planning district. It's probably from Sam Robinson, and you might not have it.
Yeah,
I don't
we didn't
remember
get it.
seeing it.
So yeah, I think I saw it with the planning district stuff, and I'll look at it when I get home. See if I can figure it out.
Then we're done.
Yes.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.